Hello everybody, my name is Brandon. Welcome back to the channel. I am here today with my February 2020 book haul. So I will warn you right now, I picked up a lot of books again. So this is going to be a lengthy video, but hopefully you guys will enjoy it. So let's sit back, relax, and let's dive right in. So the first set of books I'm going to talk about are ones I picked up for 50 cents each from Salvation Army. First up is apparently I'm on a Tom Clancy kick. This is Tom Clancy's EndWar. So of course there is the video game entitled EndWar, and this is the novelization to that video game. So I don't know if this came first or the video game came first, but I believe the video game came first. Yeah, this is based on the best-selling video game. So clearly the book came after the video game, but yeah, so EndWar it's actually, the video game is a strategy game, I believe, like a real-time strategy game. I've not played it, but I figured, because I'm into this like novelization kick, that this would fall into that, and so I picked it up for the cheap, for the 50 cents that I found it for. This next one, I know virtually nothing about, but the cover looked cool. It's called Lockdown, Escape from Furnace. And I think the series is called Lockdown, and then this is book 1, Escape from Furnace, and I believe this is a young adult dystopian book series. Basically, the only reason I picked it up was because of the cover, which it does look like there is a little bit of a rip there, but who cares? This one actually should be pretty easy to get through. You can see I love this because it's a trade paperback style. The font is spread out. It's easy to read. It's nice and floppy. Like, this is a perfect style book for me. This is what I enjoy the most. But anyway, that was a little bit of a tangent. So Lockdown, book 1, Escape from Furnace. So one of my favorite books of all time, a book that hit me so hard that I didn't expect it to at all, was a book I read a couple years ago, and it was Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. That book was phenomenal. Like I said, it is without a doubt one of the best books I've ever read and one of my favorite books I've ever read. So when I saw Go Set a Watchman, which is the sort of sequel to Kill a Mockingbird, I had to pick it up. Now I have only heard negative things about this book, but it's the hardcover and it was 50 cents, so I figured I would give it a shot. As much as I loved the original, I figured that, you know, there might be something that I enjoy in this book, which I definitely do intend to read at some point, just because of how much I enjoyed the original. So this is Harper Lee's Go Set a Watchman, which is the semi-sequel to Kill a Mockingbird. Next up is a book by an author. I'm not entirely sure how to say his last name, but you'll know, I'm sure, because you're smarter than I am. But this is Albert Camus. I don't know, The Stranger. Obviously, it's a very well-known book. I just have never heard his name spoken aloud before, which I should have researched before I filmed the video, but who does research? That's ridiculous. So this one I picked up because it is a book I've always heard about, and I actually recently read the premise to it, and it sounds very interesting. It's a classic. It's a book that a lot of people know, and so for 50 cents, finding it in really good shape, I figured I'd give it a shot. As you may know, I've been on a bit of a Stephen King kick lately, and so anytime I find his books used that I don't own, I pick it up, and that's exactly what I did here. So this is The Talisman, and this is by Stephen King, who I love, and Peter Straub, who is phenomenal as well. I've read Ghost Story from him, and it was excellent. I need to read more, but that's what I've read so far. So this one is a super thick one. Nothing like The Stand, of course, but it's thick nonetheless. And the font in this guy, look at how small that is. My God. I don't have any intention of actually reading this version of The Talisman. I will do it via audiobook when I get to it, because that's how I've been trying to do all King's books. But yeah, for 50 cents, I'm going to add it to my collection just so I have it. I want to collect all of his books in some format, in physical form, to have in my collection. So this is just another one I needed to add. I have never read a Lois Duncan book, but I do own I Know What You Did Last Summer, and now I own Summer of Fear. So this is another, I'm assuming, young adult horror book from Lois Duncan. And so you can see this, like, has the green pages, looks like it's gonna fall apart, which is just fantastic. It is from the year 1976. So this is a genuine, bona fide classic here. At least the physical version of this is. I don't know much about the book, but it was Lois Duncan for 50 cents, so I grabbed it. Next up is actually a book I was really excited to find because it's part of the Point Horror series, which, if you know what that is, that it was a young adult series back in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. The Babysitter books, which I just finished up, were actually part of that Point Horror book series. And so this one, which has this incredible, I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not, but it's this, basically it's a don't drink bookmark that was stuck inside of it, which is so 90s and fantastic. But this is Teacher's Pet, and this one is written by Richie Tankersley Cusick, which is a fantastic name. And he also wrote The Lifeguard, which was a book I actually owned from the Point Horror series when I was younger. I never read it, of course, because that's what I do, but I did own it. So this book was from 1990. And you can see other Point paperbacks. I don't think they might not have been called the Point Horror series at that point, but you have April Fool's, Trick or Treat, and The Lifeguard. So this one is going to be very much in the vein of the books I love to read. So I had to grab it once I saw it. Next up is a book I didn't even know existed. I absolutely love this movie. It's one of my favorites, and I didn't know it was based off a book. So it shows how ignorant I am. But this is Charles Webb's The Graduate, which of course is made into one of the best films ever made, I would argue. It is fantastic. It's, you know, the story of a recent graduate who's looking for what he's going to do next in life, and his whole world is basically turned upside down when his next door neighbor, the mother of the girl he likes, hits on him, I guess, and then things just escalate from there. So it's fantastic. It's an awesome coming of age story. It's beautifully told in the film version, at least. So I really want to read this book to see how I enjoy it compared to the movie, and maybe I can do a book versus movie on this in the future, but we'll see. Speaking of books and movies and the relations, woo! I just opened it and messed it up a little bit, but that's all right. We have a book that, why in the hell was this novelization even made? I had to own it because of that reason. Snakes on a Plane. The movie is over the top, and it is amazing. There's a novelization for it? That just blows my little mind. Like, I can't believe that Krista Faust wrote a novelization to Snakes on a Plane. And it is insanely thick. This mass market paperback is over 410 pages. It's 415 pages. Like, how insane. Oh, and apparently, I have to own these now. I just found this. There are novelizations for Final Destination 1, 2, and 3. Are you kidding me? I have to own those now. So, if you know of any way to get those, let me know. Hopefully I can find them on Amazon and make it real easy. But, yeah, so, the novelization to Snakes on a Plane. That's ridiculous. Okay, so I'm not going to start collecting these books. That's what I have to remind myself. I am not starting collecting the Star Trek Next Generation books. It's just not happening. That said, this is book 1 of that series. So this is the first book in the Star Trek Next Generation book series that was based on the show. And this is Ghost Ship, which this one I've actually heard about in the past just because of the premise. It sounds really interesting to me. It sounds horror-esque. And I have no idea if it really is or not, but I had to grab it. It was, again, 50 cents. And I honestly, I put it down multiple times because I said, if I grab one, I just know I'm going to want to grab more. But I'm not going to let myself. I have to finish this book before I buy another Star Trek TNG book. I have to. Because if I get sucked into the Star Trek book universe, it will literally never end. There are so many books, and none of them are canon. Not a single book, not even this one. Like, it's just, it's a whole world I don't want to get into. I'm already into the Star Wars books. I cannot get into Star Trek. But I did grab Ghost Ship, so pray for me. So this next small stack, still on the Salvation Army picks. This was from a couple different Salvation Armies, but this whole next stack is all middle grade books. And so I'm just excited to show them because obviously you guys know I love middle grade. So first up is a book series I'd never even heard of before, and they're probably bad, but that's okay. So these are the Poison Apple book series, or these are Poison Apple books. And we have the first book I actually found separate from the other two. The Dead End, I believe, was the first book in the series. They're not numbered, unfortunately, but Dead End is the first book. And then we have The Green-Eyed Monster, which is somewhere in the teens, and The Ghoul Next Door. I think this is like 12 and 13 or something like that. And so I don't know anything about this book series. It definitely is aimed at middle grade females, but that's okay. We'll see how I enjoy it. I love middle grade, and I'd never heard of them, so I figured I would give them a shot. I happened to find 2 at one Salvation Army and another one at a second Salvation Army, so it was serendipitous. So now I own 3 books in the Poison Apple book series. If you know anything about these, please let me know down in the comments below. 2 more random middle grade that I found were actually Hardy Boys Adventures. This is a spin-off of the Hardy Boys series, and this is book number 13 and 14. Oh, I'm sorry, 12 and 13. So book number 12 is The Madman of Black Bear Mountain, and then book number 13 is Bound for Danger. So the title alone, The Madman of Black Bear Mountain, sounds much more interesting than Bound for Danger, but we'll see how I like these. I don't even know if I've ever read a Hardy Boys book. Maybe when I was younger. I may have read them in, elementary school, but we'll see how these are. They're both written by Franklin W. Dixon, who I don't know, but he's done basically the entire Hardy Boys Adventure series, which I want to say was like, I don't remember how many books long. It was significantly more than I expected, I guess. But yeah, so Hardy Boys Adventures, book number 12 and 13. This is one that I didn't realize that the Dead Time Stories series was the series that has this book in it. So the first handful of books have a much different cover style than the later ones. But they're all written by Annette and Gina Cassone, from what I could tell. I think it might be credited as A.G. Cassone on some of them. But this is another one. I'm sure it's going to be like the Goosebumps series. This is The Beast of Baskerville. And this one was later in the series. I want to say like book 9 or 10. There's not a ton of these. Less than a dozen, I believe. So these would be cool to collect all of. I really want the earlier ones because I think their covers are a lot more interesting to look at, but we'll see how this series is. This one I was really excited to find because the author is a Michigan author who's actually opening a bookstore in a mall that is somewhat close to me. So he's known for his Michigan Chillers books, and then he moved on to his American Chillers. This is book number 14, so unfortunately these are not in order, and this is clearly a the Rochester Hills Public Library that used to be my library as a child. American Chillers, this is Creepy Condors of California. So again, very Goosebumps-esque. All of his books, the American Chillers, all take place in different states. The Michigan Chillers series takes place in different Michigan cities. I think he has a couple other series as well. Middle grade series are what he's known for. There's an Adventure Club series also, according to this. This gives a quick list of all of his different books in the series that were released up to this point, at least. So, yeah, Michigan Chillers, the Creepy Condors of California. K.A. Applegate is known mostly for her Animorphs books, but she does have other series, and this is actually book 1 in the Remnants series, the Mayflower Project series. The book is called Remnants. I don't know too terribly much about this. I did know it existed because I did research on K.A. Applegate at one point just to see kind of how many books she had and how long the Animorphs series was, because obviously that is a series I'm collecting as well. So since I couldn't find any Animorphs, I figured I better grab this because it's book 1. So this is, you know what? I said that wrong. It is the Remnant series, and the title of the book is the Mayflower Project. Excuse me for being an idiot, but yeah, so this is book 1, and I'm interested to see how this compares to the Animorphs series, which I need to get to that soon anyway, so we'll see how these go. Another novelization, and this is a middle grade novelization, which are typically called junior novels as opposed to novelizations, but this is the junior novel for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So I have a whole idea that I want to do with these junior novels, which I'm going to talk about more in just a second, which I am really excited to talk about. But yeah, so this one should be interesting. I love middle grade, and I'm collecting novelizations. I don't know if I enjoy them yet, but we'll see. So yeah, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the junior novel. Okay, so let's jump over to all the books I purchased from the Second and Charles near me. So first up is this is literally a brand new copy. I don't know, it's in perfect shape, but it is The Dark Knight Rises. So last video, I had a couple other Batman books, including not Batman Begins, but The Dark Knight. I do need Batman Begins yet. I'm hoping to find it used, but we'll see. I might just end up ordering it online so I can start the series, because I am interested in reading through the Nolan trilogy novelization form. So yeah, so Dark Knight Rises, and like I said, this is just in immaculate shape. And this is actually another really long one, man. Some of these novelizations surprise me how long they are, but this is like over 400 pages as well. So anyway, hopefully I enjoy these. As I mentioned a couple minutes ago, The junior novelizations are something that I am starting to collect a little bit because they are so related to my interests. I love middle grade and I'm very interested in novelizations right now. So I decided I wanted to collect the Star Wars junior novels, as they're called. Just so happened, a couple days after I decided I wanted to do that, I added this used thing to Amazon. It had all of the books, all 6 of them. Well, I went to Second and Charles, and looky what we have here. All 6 of the Star Wars junior novels. So, of course, this is going to be the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. We have The Phantom Menace. We have Attack of the Clones, Episode 2. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. We have the original, A New Hope. The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. I am so excited for this. I do want to do a video where I read all 6 of these and watch all the movies and then just talk about it. I don't know. It's a half-baked idea, but it's coming eventually. So hopefully you're as excited about it as I am. But the first original trilogy were all written by Ryder Wyndham. And then the prequel trilogy were all written by Patricia C. Wrede, W-R-E-D-E. So I am so excited that I happened to find these like days after I realized first they existed and then second that I wanted them. And so this was just such a great find. I was so excited when I picked these up. It was kind of embarrassing like it is right now, but yeah. So all 6 of the junior novels of the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy from Star Wars. Okay, I'm not at the end of the video. Not quite close yet, but this is probably the coolest find I had in the month of probably all year so far. I discovered that they have middle grade novels that are related to M. Night Shyamalan's The Sixth Sense. Let that sink in for a minute. M. Night Shyamalan's The Sixth Sense, which is not a kid's movie, which is absolutely an adult film, has middle grade novels. Novels that are aimed at, what, 10 to 13-year-olds? That blows my mind. I said that twice now. It's true. I don't know what else to say. So this is, unfortunately, book 1 and book 3. I am missing book number 2, which is the last in this 3-book series. I do have it in my cart in Amazon, and so I am going to pick it up because I am certain I'm never going to find it used anywhere else. I just got lucky with these, and I searched. I spent a good 10 minutes trying to find in the shelves around where I found these at Second and Charles, trying to find book number 2. They didn't have it. I will pick it up so I can complete this, but this is insane. So this is called The Sixth Sense, Secrets from Beyond. Book number 1 is Survivor, and book number 2 is Hangman. Hangman says that it is an original mystery based on the award-winning The Sixth Sense, and then this one says it is a new mystery based on the award-winning The Sixth Sense, and that's the first book. So yeah, I have no idea what these are. I have no idea why these exist. But I bet a lot of you didn't realize that they existed, much like I didn't. If you did, and you know anything about these, please let me know down in the comments below. Have you read these? What are they? Why are they? How are they? Who makes middle grade novels for an adult film? That makes no sense. And I keep saying adult film. I feel like an idiot. But a film that is aimed at an adult audience like The Sixth Sense. It boggles the mind, man. It boggles the mind. But yeah, so I'm super excited to have these. I hope you guys know more about these than I do. I cannot wait to read them. This is just like the coolest thing I have found while thrifting. Or, well, this was at Second and Charles, but it was still secondhand, so I'm counting it as thrifting. But either way, awesome. Let me know more about these if you know anything. Okay, so now that I've made a fool of myself with those, let's move over to the books I found from my library book sale. So these ones I picked up for about 20 cents each. I know, it's ridiculous. First up is one I grabbed for the cover. It is Mutant Chronicles in Lunacy by William F. Wu. I don't know anything about this. It is part of a larger series. Fortunately, it is book 1 of a larger series. So we'll see if I enjoy it, if I ever get to it, which honestly, the chances of me getting to it are pretty slim, but I figured I'd pick it up because I needed another book to go with my like 5 for $1 or whatever it was. Speaking of book series, which you guys know I'm a sucker for collecting a book series, they had a ton of these Anita Blake books at the library book sale, and they usually do. So this is book 2 and book 3. I don't remember which one's which, but whatever. One of these is book 2, one of these is book 3, because I thought I owned book 1. Of course, I get home and realize that I actually sold book 1 to Second and Charles a couple months back when I ended up getting rid of a bunch of books. So that sucks. So now I need to pick up the first book in order to start reading this series. But this series I've heard good things about. Oh, this is another one. It's like ADD over here, but this is another one. Squirrel. They have an old Borders book sticker on it, which is just awesome. So anyway, I've heard good things about this series. It is supposed to be quite adult-oriented, I guess, mixed with the supernatural. So we'll see if I enjoy it when I finally get book 1 again and read it. Here's a couple books, much like that first one I showed, that I bought simply for the cover. So we have Charles Sheffield, Sight of Proteus, which again is a book 1 in the series. And then we have Mind Wizards of Callisto by Lynn Carter. Like, these covers are fantastic. They're so very 70s sci-fi. It's amazing. Let's see when these ends actually came out. This is the 5th book in a series, and this is The Saga of Jandar, Alien in a Land of 1,000 Foes. So that sounds pretty fantastic. This one was released in 1975, and then Sight of Proteus, I'm guessing around that time. Yeah, 1978. So these are just awesome covers. And for the 20 cents, I figured I had to add them to my collection, even if I don't end up reading them anytime soon. I mentioned that I've read Ghost Story by Peter Straub. Well, now I also own Julia by Peter Straub. And this one, it's not in the greatest shape, but it's not bad. And it is the original printing from... No, it's not the original printing. This is actually the 4th printing from 1976, which is crazy. This was released in 1975 originally, and then it's already at its 4th printing in November 1976. So it must have sold well. But yeah, this is Julia by Peter Straub. This one, I don't know anything about, to be honest with you, but the cover looks fantastic, and it's by an author that I enjoy, so I decided to grab it. Not super long either, only about 250 or so pages. So this one I actually hope to physically read, but eventually, as I always say. The next one's a bit of a throwaway, but it was a middle grade, and it was horror themed, super thin. Real Vampires by David Cohen. So this, of course, is a vampire-themed middle-grade horror book, so hopefully I'll enjoy it. It'll be a super quick read. It's like less than 100 pages, or it's 111 pages, so it'll be a real quick read if nothing else. I was able to find a couple Christopher Pike novels, which is he does a lot of young adult things. So the first one was The Starlight Crystal. The other one was Remember Me 2, The Return. So this is another one that is obviously number 2 in the series. Unfortunately, it had this attached here, but my daughter got a hold of it and ripped it off because it has an awesome insert. There's a certain name for these, I can't remember, but it's just very cool, and it's his last name, and it's just awesome. But my daughter got a hold of it, so it is what it is. Yeah, so these are 2, I'm guessing, probably 80s novels, young adult novels, or 90s, excuse me. So this one was 1996, and then Remember Me 2 was probably from around that same time, 1994. Yeah, so mid-90s goodness. We'll see if I enjoy these. I was really excited to find this one because it's a graphic novel. So this is A History of Violence by John Wagner and art by Vince Locke. You can see this is a black and white graphic novel story, but there is a movie that is based off of this, so it ties back into my movies, books thing that I like to do here. And so I grabbed this one. This one was a little bit more. This one was 50 cents, so more than 20, but still not very much. Okay, so the last 5 of the books I picked up from the library book sale happen to all be novelizations. Yay! Or, well, I'm sorry, not novelizations necessarily. Novelizations and or books that have movies based on them. Like this one, Michael Crichton's The Lost World. So I just finished Jurassic Park. I read the book. I watched the movie. I did a BVM, a book versus movie, which you can check out here in the channel if you're interested. And so next up, I've already had requests for The Lost World. So I now own it. I'll probably do it in audiobook, but I wanted to have it in my collection either way. So I'll do this one hopefully soon. I'm excited to get to it because I really liked Jurassic Park a hell of a lot. So this one should be a lot of fun as well. Next up is the official prequel novel to the 2005-ish, somewhere in there, Peter Jackson's King Kong. This is called King Kong, The Island of the Skull. So again, this is one that fits into the theme I'm really going for right now. So I'm excited to dive into this one to see how it is. And then we have the novelization to the movie Serenity, which is a movie I've owned for ever and have still never watched, but I have to do that. I want to watch Firefly first and then watch Serenity, but I just haven't done that yet, so eventually I will, and I want to read this along with it. Here's one I bought. I don't really care about the movie so much, but it's written by Max Allan Collins, who's an author I really like, who did the Quarry series. And this is another prequel. This is a prequel to G.I. Joe, Rise of the Cobra. It is G.I. Joe Above and Beyond. Again, with the author being Max Allan Collins, I imagine it's going to be enjoyable, if not good. So, you know, I've never even seen either of the G.I. Joe movies, but maybe I'll read this first and then check those out. And who knows, maybe there's, well, I guess it wouldn't be a book versus movie because this is a prequel, but I could at least do a review of this. So we'll see where that takes me. And last but not least is one that will probably be a divisive opinion. But this is my favorite book from Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We have the novelization of The Incredible Hulk, and this is written by Peter David. The Incredible Hulk, like I said, is probably my favorite of the original Phase 1 movies. I love it. I think it is the most underrated in the entire MCU. It does not get any love ever. But I think it is a fantastic film, and the special effects, they still hold up. I can't say today, because it's been maybe 5-6 years since I've seen it, but the last time I watched it, they held up really well. And so I am super excited to read this one. This is one I have been looking for at Second and Charles. They didn't have it. They had Ang Lee's Hulk novelization, which I like that one too, but this is where it's at for me. This is my favorite of the Hulk movies. So I just want to read this. I'm super excited to read this, and I'll probably do it rather sooner rather than later too. So The Incredible Hulk novelization written by Peter David wraps up the books that I picked up at my library book sale. Okay, so we are getting very close to done. The next set of books and the last set of books I'm going to talk about are actually graphic novels that I picked up from Ollie's. So if you have an Ollie's near you, definitely check it out. See if you have these if you're interested. Ollie's is a bargain outlet store, so it's really, that's the only reason I go there is for their books, because sometimes they'll get lots in of graphic novels. It'll be Marvel, DC, other random independent publishers. They'll have a lot of graphic novels usually. So I got lucky. I recently watched a video from Serial at Midnight, which is one of my 5 underrated booktubers that I talked about in that video. And he mentioned that he went there and found a bunch of Star Wars graphic novels. So I figured I'd go check it out. The first day I went, squat diddly. They had nothing. I happened to go back because it's right next door to the Salvation Army I was going to. And lo and behold, we got a whole stack of them here, folks. And this isn't all of them. I have a few more next to me. So I'll go through these. We have so these 4 are one-shots. I'm sorry, not all of them. 3 of these 4 are one-shots. There's like not one-shots isn't the right term. These are miniseries. And there's only like 4 in each book. But we have Star Wars Princess Leia. We have Lando, the original one, and Han Solo. So these are just kind of some stories that are separate from the Star Wars book, but they spin off from it. And then we have Poe, and this is volume 1. It is entitled Black Squadron. And so this one is a continuing series. I think it's done now, but it was a continuing series, unlike those others, which were miniseries. And then, the coolest of the bunch, we have hardcovers of the Marvel run of Star Wars, and this is book 1 and book 2. I'm going to try to show these here. So, these were both, so the paperbacks I showed you were only $4 each. These were only $6 each. Like, that's awesome. That is such a great deal. So, book 1 is this one here, and it contains issues 1 through 12. So, book 1 contains issues 1 through 12, and then 13 and 14, or just 13, I can't remember, is actually a part of like a different series. And so this contains issues 15 to 25 and the annual number 1. And so I guess 13, 14, and 15 are part of like I think it's like a Vader crossover. I don't know. So you have to get that in a different book. But so I have a ton of Star Wars comic books to read that I am super excited to dive into. I mean, I would just $6. It's a hardcover. I don't know why every single time I hold up a hardcover, I feel the need to hit it just to prove to you that, yep, that's a hardcover, all right. Like, I don't know. I'm an idiot. But either way, these are awesome finds. If you have an Ollie's near you, check it out because you might get lucky like I was. All right, so that is going to do it for all of the books that I picked up in February. It was a ton, so if you're still with me, thank you so much for sticking with. I really appreciate that. But let me know down in the comments below, what books did you grab in February? Or what other media did you grab in February? I'd love to hear about it down in the comments section below. Also, do keep in mind, I have a media pickups video that I posted before, so definitely check that out if you want to see what video games and what movies I picked up in February. As always, if you enjoyed what you watched, please consider subscribing to Cinefessions here on YouTube. And if not, thank you anyway for watching. I really appreciate it, especially a video that is as long as this one was. All right, so I want to say thank you to everyone for watching, and I'll catch you next time.